Hey, it's Aaron from AaronOnAutos.com, and today we're sitting in a 2020 Dodge Challenger Hellcat HO Widebody. Boom. 797 horsepower in this thing. You can't even idle without screeching the tires. Anyway, this car is all kinds of American awesome. Yeah. All right, so I just want to go over it really quick. We're going to do our usual interior walkthrough. If you're familiar with Dodge products, then you will recognize most of this. A couple of things are specific to the Hellcat line, and as far as I know on the interior, there is nothing that is Redeye specific for this one, but there are a couple of things that are on the outside and other, so, but let's get going. Let's look through this. Let me show you what everything is. So starting over here, you got the usual doors, windows, mirrors, etc., and then this big old handle that you got to reach way down. It's past my leg but that allows this giant drink holder, and then you have a proper foot brake for parking brake, and then up here you see the lighting. So I have it on auto now, and then you can see what the other settings are. Over here you have dimmers. So here's the interior, here's the outside, here's the trunk release, so it pops the deck back there. Right here is, if I can see it, there it is. Right here is the hood release to look down at that engine, which when you're looking at it basically just looks like a giant intake from the top. Beautiful sound though. Oh, I'm just gonna have to cut this off and just here, I'll play it for you. This is the engine on startup. I tried to get the sound as best I could. How freaking awesome is that? Wow. All right, back to what we were doing. So on the steering wheel, usual Dodge, FCA really. Most Dodge, Ram, Jeep, etc. products look like this, except for the giant SRT in the middle, which you'll only see in certain select models, like this one. So over here you have your driver information screen controls, and then down here you have telephone, telematics, you have telephone stuff, and voice recognition in the middle. On this side, it's cruise control. This does not have adaptive cruise. This one has just regular cruise control right there. Set, reset, and all that right there. Pretty straightforward. Paddle shifters only stick out the top. They do follow the wheel, but they only come up top ways. But the little paddles that are on the back that toggle like this, for on this side running the volume, and on this side changing stations, channels, etc. Those are still there. They're on the back of these paddle shifters. You can just feel them right there underneath. So there you go. Nothing on this side, only over here. Because it is a coupe, there's only one window, so all of this is controlling the front window washers. You turn it like this, you push it to squirt, pull it back and forth for rights, up and down for your signal turns. And then you can see on the vents, bacon and email and all that. Now looking here, it's a little bit of a glare, feedback glare, but not bad. All right. Over here, you got a big, giant red tachometer. Over here, you got a huge speedometer and Canuck miles per hour for... They sell this car in Canada? Is that legal? Wow. Anyway. Over here, you got fuel. Right now, it's showing empty because the car isn't actually on. I just have the accessories on, and I need to explain why. The engine's really loud. The exhaust is also really loud. It's very, very hard. I tried a test run on recording video in here, and it's really difficult to hear everything over that sound. I mean, it's not overbearing. That's the funny thing. When you're sitting in here, I thought, it's no big deal. It's not that loud. So I just started the engine up, and I started on my usual, but then I thought, wow, I wonder if that's a lot of background, and I listened to it, and it is. And it's not because it's particularly loud, it's because it is a rumble in a tone that is exactly right for drowning out my voice. It's a beautiful sound though. Here, I'm going to do that startup video again. Yeah. All right. So over here, engine heat, and then in the middle, you're seeing what's going on. So right now, it's trying to tell me that I need to start. This is the screen I've been looking at the most because this is the most useful for, well, for staying out of trouble. This car is a ticket waiting to happen. There's a lot of other stuff to show. There's a pretty comprehensive suite of things. Most of these have submenus, so you can do this, and then you can go up and down through the main ones, and you can go back and forth on some of these to see some of the submenus, right? So lots of good information in here, and useful stuff. If you really want to see what's going on under that hood right here, you can do that. There's a whole bunch of gauges. Just really cool setup. Going this way, here's push button start. It's nice and red because there's also a red key that goes with this. If you're familiar with that, it's a Dodge thing. Performance thing. So you have a red key that means the car is unfettered. You can do whatever you want. You have a black key that you give to somebody when you only really trust them with about 500 horsepower. Which, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like 500 horsepower, you're still going to be breaking land speed records in this car. That's hilarious. Anyway, so vents over here. Now you're looking at the infotainment. It's a really good Uconnect. So this is the usual Uconnect system. I'm a big fan of Uconnect. So what we'll look at really quick is just kind of the general here. So right now we're looking at music. We can jump to the climate, which everything is off. This is just seating, mirror dimming and stuff, but mostly seating, so you're heated and cooled and whatever. This is kind of like the main menu. So this is kind of where everything is on a couple of spots. If you have your phone plugged in, you can do the projection. So you can project your phone screen up here. SRT mode, I'll show you that in a minute. I want to look at this other stuff. This has Wi-Fi hotspot. This has lots of other stuff you can see. Marketplace is pretty cool. You can go and, like order coffee and pull the drive-through in Dunkin' Donuts or something. Performance pages. This is really where it's at for a lot of stuff. So they're going to take a minute to load because the car hasn't been started up. And I've noticed that when the car isn't running, it takes longer for this stuff to come up. It's weird. But anyway, this is kind of like a home screen for your performance. Now you can see all the stuff that's going on. Here's all the PSIs for all the stuff in the system. Here's graphs to show you the outputs and stuff. If you want to jump over and you want to see what your G-forces are as you're cruising, maybe you're trying to hit the track, or you want to see how much launch force you're getting, which, by the way, is if you do it from scratch using launch mode, you can get really close to that 1G. And if you prefer, like, more traditional gauges, which I do, then you're seeing that here. If you want to set some timers for yourself, you could do that. So you can do, this isn't showing anything because most of them have been erased, but been cleared out. But you can run all these that you want, and you can do them all simultaneously. It's beautiful. Here's the home screen for the whole thing, so you can do this stuff, and then if you happen to have a dyno, you can run this. It has a dyno mode. How cool is that? So lots of neat stuff, and then there's the phone, and there's the settings. Settings mostly changes what's in here. Now I want to show you the SRT screen, so I'm going to hit that button. Oh, it has to be running. Anyway, this changes drive modes. So this is how you go from like normal, which is kind of like sport, to track and so on. I'm not going to show you those because they're really obvious Like you hit the SRT button right down here, and there you go. But there you go. Go back to where we were, and that's kind of the infotainment. It's a beautiful screen, really easy to use. You saw that, very fast. Down here, we're looking at the hard buttons I was showing you before. So I have the radio muted using this SRT button here, launch control right here. Launch control can work in a couple of different ways, but if you're familiar with launch control, then you'll be familiar with how this works. When you activate it, which it won't do right now because it's not running, when you activate it, launch control will hold you in place until you're ready to launch. Over here you have parking buttons. Now, I will tell you from experience, when you drive through the car wash, push this damn button. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting in here listening to this thing scream and whistle and beep and all kinds of stuff the entire time. This turns off that screen. So you use that. Shuts off the screen, but not what's going on. So if you're playing music or whatever, that's still running. This turns everything off, pushing that button down. Here's your Duke's lights, traction control, which automatically turns off in a bunch of the SRT modes, track mode and stuff like that. So traction control, you really do need that in this car. Really. Because, so I was on the freeway at 75 miles an hour, driving along, and the speed limit changes to 80. So I pushed the throttle down thinking, yeah, I'll just jump, I'll listen to the engine noise and jump to 80. I squealed the tires at 75 miles an hour and was going 90. So, yeah. Traction control. It kept me in the lane. I had no idea this thing could spin the tires at 75 miles an hour. Okay then, tuning and whatnot over there. Now down here you got defrosts, and then you got some climate controls. So auto is probably what you use the most, and you use this to turn it off. Over here you set the temperatures. Most of it's pretty self-explanatory. 8-speed automatic transmission. It's a wonderful transmission for this car because this car needs the beefiest transmission available. That's really what it comes down to. When you're putting out, what's the number for this? I think it's 780 or something like that pound-feet of torque. You need a big, beefy transmission to handle that. Usual Dodge thing. With the T-handle here, you're shifting up and down. You can shove it into manual on the right, but otherwise it's up and down. Manual, by the way, you can paddle shift at any time. Manual forces you to do that, but the car will not sacrifice itself, so it will never go over the red line. The red line is right at that, almost right at 6,000 RPM. It will never go over that red line. So that's good to know because, you know, price tag on this car is $90,000. 90. Yeah. All right. You can see my coffee's in the drink holder here. A couple of those, they're pretty okay. Always face that forward sports car. Here you got your armrest, which is pretty good size and nice and cushy. And then you have a half decent amount of storage, a couple of USBs, etc. Seating in this is very, very SRT seating. Lots of bolster, but it's not hitting you or stabbing you or gouging you. It's a good bolster and beautiful seating. This has vented seats in this particular model, so it also has the AC coming through the seats, the air blower, and you barely feel it. These seats are so thick and cushiony, there's hardly anything from that blower coming through. Just FYI, it is enough though that you will notice when it's on versus when it's off on a really hot day, but it's mostly for cooling this down. It's not really for blowing air on the driver or the passenger. And then you see the usual Dodge dash. Big, beefy, gigantic. Most of it hogged up with this. Very, very thick. But I really like the color tones. So you see how they went to the leather and that. And so they matched the leather color over there. And they did all that. And then as with, let me wave my hand around in front of the camera a couple times. As with most of the Challenger models, decent back seat. I wouldn't say it's family friendly, but you can get 3 kids back there. I did that. All 3 of them. Also went and got groceries in this. Show you a photo of that because you know, I mean, if you're going to go get groceries, you do need 797 horsepower. Yeah. All right. So that's what I got. This is the 2020 Dodge Challenger Hellcat HO Hight-Output wide body. Such a monstrous car. All right. Talk to you again soon.